This week's guest has gained over 16,000 followers in just 2 years from her unapologetically emotional photographs because she demands perfection in her art.
That's right. Today, we talk to the Blissful Maven. And if you don't know who that is, you're in for a treat because you're about to have a brand new favorite photographer to obsess over. Let's get into it. Hey, Callum, welcome. We're here. We're here today.
Dude, what's going on?
It's rainy here in Indianapolis today, which kind of sucks. I was hoping to get out and, do something fun, but I don't think it's going to happen. This week's been pretty good. Pretty good. I had an engagement session on Saturday, and then I don't typically do it. It was a favor, but it turned out really well. Family portraits on Sunday. Turned out really well. Saturday's couple were really fun. They wanted to do like a paint war engagement session, which I had done one before, but this is like, they were taking this one seriously. They went like to the nines. Oh, full on and everything. And side note, this was my first time using the Fuji X Pro 2 in a professional setting. And let me tell you, first off, so happy that I left Canon.
Yeah, you're really that
I
happy?
am, and here's why. I wasn't this happy with the XT1 because there were some focusing, troubles, I guess. But with the X Pro 2, I simply set that thing to continuous autofocus, set exactly where I wanted my focus point to be, and because I was using the optical viewfinder, so much faster, so much more accurate. It turned out absolutely wonderful, and they were a ton of fun to be around. We ended up getting cookies afterwards, so that was cool too. And then Sunday's family portrait session was also great. I took out my fun Fuji X100T and used some flash work, which it's perfect for its leaf shutter, and it turned out really well. I'm very happy with it, and I'm excited to show the photos to the couples and the family and see what they think about it. So
that sounds awesome. My week, not as exciting as yours, I think. What did I do? I had an engagement session last week. Really cool couple, Nigerian backgrounds, super lovely, hilarious, very emotional with each other. But then like 180 in a second are laughing at each other. So it really kept me on my toes. I went in there with, usually what I'll do is I'll go in there, I'll spend like an hour before a shoot and just kind of look at some stuff I've shot before, just to drop the energy. Didn't do any of that. I was like, nope, turn everything off and just commit to having a great time and let it come out. Loved it. I just threw that up on my website this afternoon.
I saw that. I'm really surprised that you were able to turn that around so quick into a blog. That's super impressive.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is a discussion for another podcast. I've really nailed down editing to like such a quick turnaround, especially to get blog posts out. But like the editing's like 85% done, man. I just have to like do final touch-ups and then export, and I can get them out of here.
Right on. That's a huge thing, especially for a lot of our listeners who maybe still work a full-time job, and time is of the essence, especially maybe if you have kids. It can really add up quick. So saving as much time as possible is super, super important.
Totally.
And we even went into this last week when we were talking all about editing, or not last week, week before last, when we talked about Lightroom and a few, core values on how to speed up your workflow and how to just become more proficient in the whole second portion of photography, which is editing.
And I'm going to throw this out to our listeners right into their earbuds. Did you download that preset yet? Did you?
Hell, did you do it? Yes.
Did you do it? You better have done it. I spent some time on that, and it looks great. And
I have it.
Use it.
I do. I have been using it, and what's really cool is that our listeners have been using it as well. The amount of people signing up for the newsletter this week has, and I don't use this term lightly, skyrocketed.
Off the chain, maybe?
Well, maybe not off the chain. We can still handle it, but it has skyrocketed. people are loving it. You know, we're showing a lot of people on Instagram as well. They're enjoying it. It's a ton of fun, and I think that the main thing here is to really point out that it's a great base to start at. So you can't just apply the filter and it's like photo's good to go, just export it and we're done. It's a great starting point to be able to look at a photo and say, I like this, but you know what's interesting is that I didn't think about this before. Maybe I could use some more shadow detail or less shadow detail. And with the preset, you can do that.
Yeah, man. And then this is, you know, going back to how quickly I can get my edits out. Preset is what gets me 85% of the way there. It's what I like to see in my style. Obviously, the one we gave away is modeled a little bit over my style, so you are, you know, free to tweak that as you want and resave it. And you know, maybe that gets you so much closer, and it saves you hours on doing every single image to match. And you know, consistency is key. And once you find it, you'll be able to fly through photos in Lightroom in no time.
Yes, yes, super important, super important. So if anybody wants that preset, they can go ahead and download it absolutely free, and they will also be getting our 5 tips to taking better photos today, which you will be getting immediately after signing up.
That's right. That is right. Speaking of crazy, awesome style, we've interviewed someone today that is amazing. She is known all over the planet. She is, you know, aggressive in your face, but just so lovely all the time. Takes no shit from anyone, quote unquote, from her.
Yeah.
And
you know, I think that she's probably the world's most famous local photographer.
that is pretty much how I would, yeah, I completely agree with that. She is super famous and just stays at home and gets people to go to her and kills it no matter where she is at home. Like within probably like you know, maybe a 2-hour radius. I don't know how far she travels, but she stays local and she's so popular.
Yeah, it's really awesome. We had a fantastic interview with Candice. I'm not even going to say anymore. I think that we should just get into it and let's talk to Candice.
Let's do it.
Today's guest is a quote junkie. She's anxiety-ridden wife and a mother of 2 who struggles with self-confidence. She has also been named one of the 50 most inspirational wedding photographers in the world. With 16,000 devoted fans and followers, you may know her as the Blissful Maven. Today we talk to Candice Zugich. Did I get that right?
It's Zugich, but I mean, everybody gets it wrong. It's totally cool because I'm like, I barely know it myself. So.
You ruined it, Raymond. You ruined it.
Yeah, I know.
Totally. I get like Zurich all the time, so yours was way better than that.
Cool. All right. Well, progress is everything, right?
Yes, totally.
By the end, we'll nail it.
I know. You know what? My maiden name was Czechosopopoulos, so I'm like one step ahead over here with the Zugich over here.
Yeah, I don't know which is easier to pronounce.
I know. I mean, if I didn't get married or anything, I might have had to have changed it myself. So.
I think that the Blissful Maven suits you very well.
Yeah, you know, how to brand that real quick. It was easier than the other name.
A bit easier to spell.
Yeah.
For sure. We appreciate that.
I know, right?
I guess, Candice, why don't you give all of our listeners a bit of an introduction as to who you are and what it is that you do.
Wow. Well, everybody, my name's Candice Zugich, like Raymond just brought up. Gosh, I don't even know really where to start with who I am. I'm just a free-balling kind of person. I'm balls to the wall with how I feel. I don't take crap, and I'm extremely honest. But I have a really good heart, and I really, really love to express that in my photography. And yeah, I live in Northern California. Actually, just moved here. I love it up here from SoCal.
Where at in Northern California?
I actually live about 30 minutes outside of Sac. So we like Rockland area.
Oh, okay, right. I grew up just west of Napa, so I know Rockland very well.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, we just bought our first home out here, and super stoked. And I will tell you, we purchased this home with solely based on my photography income. So
Oh my
it's
goodness.
pretty amazing that we get to talk. I want to be able to talk a little bit about that today too. So I want people to understand that it's not like just a fairy tale to create something that you love so much into your actual business. It's pretty huge.
Absolutely. We're
I love
definitely
that.
going to talk about that.
Okay, but first, my
Yeah.
first question for you. And
Okay.
I'm trying this out on all of our guests in the future, so we're going to see how this
Okay.
goes. You're the
You
first
are the
person to
inaugural person.
hear. Yeah. And the question is, what did your childhood smell like?
What it smell like? You know, I couldn't tell you what it smelled like, but I can tell you like how I picture it. Smell like? Gosh, let me think for a second. Probably like lavender. Lavender's
Lavender.
probably my favorite smell of all time. And anytime I think of my childhood, my mom used to. She was really into. You know how everybody's into oils now?
Of course.
Yep.
Okay, well, my mom was one of the first few that started using oils, and she used to have lavender oil all over her all the time. And
Was
it
your
kinda
mom like an oil hipster? Is that what you're trying to say?
Seriously, she is. I mean, like, when people started doing all these oils and stuff like that, I'm tripping out because I'm like, dude, my mom has been throwing oils on people, like, freaking crazy person. Yeah, seriously, like, we would be in the airplane and she'd be, like, putting thieves on people, and people would be like, what is that
Party
smell?
time.
Yeah, she'd, like voodoo shit over here, you know? You're just like, oh, God, my mom's crazy.
She's the,
but now everybody does it, so it's like, oh.
She's the OG when it comes to oils. I love it.
I know. That's why I go to her. I don't go to anybody else because to me everybody's like a newbie. So my mom's like, she's legit.
I love
But
it.
yeah, she used to always have like lavender oil on her, and so I guess if I were to pick a scent, it'd be lavender.
That's it. How does that translate, I guess, into your life today? Do you typically find that you buy things that are more lavender based?
I do. It's true. I actually, my whole house has lavender candles around the house. I buy like lavender Febreze. And for me, like smells are associated with colors or you know, it's like, so I have all white linens in my home. Even though I shoot like low light, I really love light. So most of my house is pretty white and bright, and I throw a few colors here and there, but I pretty have a basic palette, and I feel like lavender, I associate the two together. But I think that like definitely inserts itself in my life a lot.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so that definitely turned out better than I expected. I guess I didn't know what I expected.
I love like questions unexpectedly. It makes me think a little bit because I'm used to the same ones over and over. So yeah.
That's all good. So I mean, you know, if our listeners out there today haven't been over to Blissful Maven, to Candice's website, you should have already been there. I really want, you know, it's clear that you're not the type of photographer who kind of just wings it. I can see that in your work.
Yeah.
You don't leave like tons of things up to random chance and occurrences. You know, talk to us about planning a shoot. I'm just gonna this is deep end. I'm going straight into it.
You know, I was actually just writing this piece in my workshop, and I was talking about that there's 3 basic things that I follow when it comes to creating powerful imagery. I'm really huge on creating each image in a gallery as it being a piece that would stand alone. So in my in week 3 of my workshop, we go solely over creating one image that is an artful image that you would put in a gallery, that you would put in somewhere big in a museum. And I want everybody to learn to be able to create a whole gallery with each image being able to be that one on a wall. So I let my students know that I'm always huge on the anticipation of an emotion or something going to happen, or powerful posing. And I feel like posing has such a bad connotation to it lately.
It does,
You know, it really does. People are just like, well, posing means just standing and looking at the camera. But I feel like people that don't know how to create strong posing have that negative connotation to it. So all my images are completely posed the way I like them, and I swear down to the T. The hair,
Cool.
everything is completely posed. The way the wind's blowing, completely posed. Everything about it. If I don't want the wind blowing this way, I have it blowing that way, or I have it blowing up, or the place of their lips and how far apart they are. And I think it's quite overwhelming for people to think like that, but I think in such great detail that I feel like that's what creates such powerful images, and that's what sets me alone and different. So,
Okay.
it's pretty detailed, down to location, pretty, yeah.
I'm gonna throw this question out there really quick.
Yeah, no, please.
So you want to get your poses right down to a T, and I can actually really appreciate that. How are you strategizing to relax couples who might feel awkward about posing, or or they just don't get posed a lot, but they're totally into your style?
I have never had a couple who wasn't down for it. They're like, what? The less we have to think about it, the better.
Wow.
My male, especially my male clients, they are just stoked because they're not like, standing around like, what do we do now? Like, I mean, it's solely on me. This is my job. This is what I want. It's not just for them, it's for myself as well, because whatever that I give them is what I keep in my arsenal for my websites, for my galleries, and they're just as important to me as it is to them. So usually when I'm giving them direction, the guys have no problem. Neither do the women. They're very like, whatever you want to do. And I feel like it takes so much pressure off of them. I mean, they don't know what they're doing. This isn't, how many times do you get pictures taken a year?
Right.
Let's be real.
Nevertheless, or a dress.
As opposed to someone who does this on a daily basis.
Who has the experience.
Fair enough.
Right.
Fair enough.
So I think that it's a huge weight lifted off most of my clients or my subjects. I mean, I think they're just glad to not have to do much. And then they get this and they're like, holy shit, how did that happen?
Yeah.
They're just like, I'm not even sure what you were doing, but this is what it was. And I just think that they're just super happy about it.
So I whenever I go out like on an engagement session or even at a wedding, I find that typically the guys are the most reserved. They're the most worried about posing. And I think that that's really interesting that you find that guys for you are the most excited about, given direction and being posed. So
I'm very reassuring, by the way.
Very reassuring.
I mean, I'm constantly telling them, you have nothing to worry about. I got this. Just leave it on my shoulders.
Right.
Just stand there, and I'm going to move you any way you want to go, or any way I want you to go, and I think that just relieves a little pressure from them at first. I think that some guys go into this going, I don't really know what to expect, so I'm very, very clear in the beginning of what they can expect from me as the professional photographer, and I think that takes such stress off them, like 100%.
That's interesting.
That shines through in your work as well. I mean, definitely.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, most of the guys I've had one guy that was a little apprehensive, but not like, I feel like I was so assertive in there that he was like, holy, like I don't want to tell her I'm not going to do it because I'm scared she's going to get mad or something like that. And it's not that I'm angry or anything when I talk to my clients, but I let them know, that I'm the boss.
Right, of course. Okay,
yeah. You pay me a lot of money to do this, and I'm definitely going to provide you with what you want, but you have to listen to me. Like this is why I'm here. So I think the guy, and I'm kind of an aggressive person, so that possibly can bleed into why men are so like, okay, I'll just do it.
Okay, well then I guess that kind of brings up a question for me, is that like if anybody looks through your Instagram, I mean it's just photo after photo of just absolutely beautiful, beautiful work, but you also do a lot of personal work, and that's also on your Instagram. And I think that just like, right, I think that, what am I trying to say here? Looking at the photos on your Instagram or the photos that you share, it's very hard for me to tell which one is, maybe a personal photo of yours and which one is like for a client, which I think is awesome.
Thanks.
Because it feels as if your clients choose you because they want to be included in your artwork, as opposed to, I guess, traditionally, they want photos for them. Does that make sense?
It's true, because I had a session actually in Big Sur recently, and that kind of fumbled. Because I'm almost 5 months pregnant, so I wasn't able to hike to where we wanted to go in Big Sur, and I told her, I said, you need to trust me. I have a better place. And she said, first thing she said was, I didn't pay you just for the images. I paid you for your vision.
Wow.
And to me, if I can't have a client that says that to me, I won't take them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, okay. That's
Because
great.
they're solely trusting 100% that no matter where I take them, the images are going to be just as good as we were going to. I call it an epic spot. I'm not very huge on these epic spots, like
Always.
having to go to the Grand Canyon. I have to go to Ireland. I have to go to Scotland. You know, like it's like my images. You would never be able to tell I was in those places anyways. I just shot in Ireland. You would never know it was in my backyard. So I feel that powerful imagery can be created anywhere you go. So I had her, I just said, look, I found this field. It's gorgeous. It's better than what we could have found anywhere else. And she's like, I don't even care. Let's just go. And like I said, 100%, if I don't have a client that puts that kind of trust in me, I won't take them.
I love that. I think that that's such like a great approach to, you know, being a photographer. And I guess just managing expectations is what it really comes down to, because that can be one of the hardest things for people who have either never been married before or typically don't have, you know, maybe family photos taken every year because they don't.
Yes.
I guess they just don't understand the process. So I think that somebody with the approach like yourself, or at least the style of shooting and how much goes into each photo that you do, I think that the amount of managing your clients' expectations is huge. And obviously you've mastered it to be able to have clients just be able to say, whatever you want to do, Candice, it's all up to you. You got the camera.
It really has taken some time, but you know what I did do in the beginning, which my husband tells everybody he talks to when we talk about, like when people bring it up and we're together, is my husband's like, yeah, she did a lot of free work in the beginning and it was annoying.
Right.
And my husband's always like, but I didn't understand that she had, you know, an agenda. And the reason why I do still to this day take free work is because I can let my freak flag fly a little bit, you know, and even while I still do that with my normal sessions, it allows me to open up a creative door or window, whatever you want to call it, into creating even more depth in my imagery. And the process of that 2 years of not really charging clients and really let me hone in who I am, and then not taking on that feeling of I have to do this for you. I'm doing this for me. And I feel like most of us as photographers, we shoot for ourselves because we love to do it, right? I mean, I don't understand. Like for me, the philosophy of people saying, "Well, I shoot because this is what they want." I don't get it. You know, like. I mean, because we all started doing this because we loved it, right? So why not continue to do it in a particular way that sets us apart from everybody else? So.
Yeah. So I mean, backing off kind of Raymond, what he said about Instagram and kind of how your work, your I guess professional work for clients and your personal work blends together. You can tell you're in tune with your subject, but you're also very in tune with yourself, and you've kind of mentioned that it doesn't happen overnight. So talk to us. I guess a little bit about when you first started to really insert yourself into that whole brand and that whole sort of, you know, it looks like it just kind of melds together so beautifully. So we have to ask that, you know, like when did you insert yourself into the paradigm? It's
like, it was such a weird year. It was in 2014, and I actually used to be a child photographer. And that's how I started, because I started out like a lot of moms, you know, getting a camera for Christmas or a holiday, a birthday, whatever, and shooting their kids. And I've always had a very distinct idea of how I wanted to shoot, because I always pictured how I wanted to shoot would be what I want on my walls. And so even my children, how I shot children was very romantic, very emotional. Yet I found I had a lot of backlash on how I wanted to shoot kids. So, and I didn't want to put my kids in the forefront of that. So what I did is I completely rebranded and went to do couples, and that, you know, that was an amazing year for me. I kind of I took on 6 couples, all free, and I completely redid my my portfolio. And it just...
Whatever it is that you wanted.
Yeah. I did, and from there it was crazy. My next 2015 was my biggest year ever. I don't even know how. Like I feel like half of that year, I can barely remember it. It was just so busy. So yeah, it was pretty crazy, and it kind of just took off. And actually, this is gonna sound so funny, especially talking to 2 guys about it. But I went into that 50 Shades of Grey craze too, like right before I did my couples, and I was like, oh snap, I'm gonna go and do some hot steamy sessions, and I just kind of and I kind of found a niche there, you know, that I just felt like was totally me.
Right, right, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, totally.
I think that's funny because it's like, I don't think that it wouldn't have been until you said that I would have put those two together. But thinking about your work now, I don't know how I could have missed it.
Yeah, you know, I think it's so funny too because like when I tell people that, they're all like, "Oh, yes, totally like that," and I'm like, "I know," but I don't tell a lot of people it. Now everybody knows, but that's really cool. But I didn't tell a lot of people about it because I didn't want people to think that I was some like mom that sat home and read books, but really that's pretty much what I did all the time. I either was shooting or I was reading like filthy novels, you know. So,
and then inserting it into your work.
And
yeah,
not just
well, I mean, I felt like it was. Yeah, I felt like what it did is it took emotions that I didn't have on a daily basis because I'm a mom. You know, I got 2 kids, and I wasn't, even if I did have emotions like that, I didn't know where to put them.
Sure.
That made sense. Right. So I decided, why not put it in my work and make it something super different? And then what I did realize was couples work wasn't personal enough. So I decided to, all I had at the time was my 35 millimeter, and I sold all my other lenses. I decided to make it even more awkward for myself and get like this close to my clients with a 35 millimeter and make sure that I was not only like a filmographer, you know, like a videographer or you know, whatever. I wanted to get in so close that you felt like you were in a movie, you know, and then back up a couple of different times. And yeah, it definitely was just a little niche that kind of just took off. Did not expect that at all. Really, I didn't. But yeah.
That's interesting because, I mean, it's I can definitely see that in your work, and I think that it's great with having. I guess when you would read these books, would you just like imagine the couples or whoever the characters were in the books and just try to I don't know, play out a scene in your head, and then when you go to a shoot, you would tell them like, look, this is what's going to happen. I know exactly how it's going to work out, and I'm going to be super close to you while you're being very intimate with each other, and I'm going to be taking pictures of you, so you better be comfortable with it.
So exactly all that, except I never had like a scenario of how I would pose them or anything at first. I kind of would just go with a feeling of how the book made me feel, and I would throw that in there. And like, you know, a lot of the 50 Shades of Grey book, you know, it's extremely passionate, and I just thought that just was something that I had never seen. So I loved the vulnerability of a woman falling with her head back and a man on her neck, and the very intimate touching. It just lacked so much in our industry, and I was so sad to see that it wasn't there, but happy at the same time that I could kind of wedge myself in there with something that hadn't been seen at the time. Okay. And I was actually shocked no one ever thought about it themselves, being 50 Shades of Grey was just so huge at one time. But
it's true.
Yeah, and I still to this day continue to read different types of books. Some of them are just different now. Like one of my biggest inspirations with movies is Pride and Prejudice, and it's not necessarily about just the book in general, but that movie is a huge inspiration about how I shoot, like the framing, the photography framing, the light is huge for me. There's another movie called Labor Day. The light in that movie and the romance in the movie is pretty huge for me. Set stone how I create my art. So I don't want like the filthy posing. What I want is the longing to be seen in my work. Yeah. Whether it's with a mother and a child, a husband and a wife, or a family. I shoot them all the same way. And I like that.
Like whatever it is that you have figured out, you have figured it out, because I think, you know, again, with looking at your personal work, with looking at your client work and seeing how they mesh, you can look at, you know, your family work, and you can look at maybe couples, which the dynamic, sure, there's love in both of those, you know, separate types, but you can feel the same amount of love, even if it's a different quality of love, if that makes sense.
There's just so many different ways that you can portray a family or a couple or a mother and child's relationship. And I feel like when you're trying to define who you are as a photographer, you pick one of those emotions. And to me, it's always that connection, that love, that like I don't ever want to lose you, I need you feeling in all of my work. Maybe it's because, what's that quote that says, if you want to know what a photographer loves, watch what they shoot.
Yeah.
Or what they're scared to lose. And you can see that very much that I have such a hard time, like if I were to ever lose my husband or my children, I want that shown in my work, that the longing is there, no matter what type of relationship. So, I mean, like I said, there's many different ways you can shoot a family, but for me, that's number one.
I like it. Okay, so we've gone over a little bit about what inspires you. We've talked a little bit about, kind of how you got started in this. So, and then I even had a crazy question about what your childhood smelled like. So I guess I'm going to kind of go off once again with this next question. And like you, I like to read a lot of books. And I know that when I first started out and I knew it was like, this is what I'm going to do forever, I have to do it right. One of the books that I picked up was called Daily Rituals, the How Artists Work, okay? And it's a really interesting book where the author basically just does a lot of research on a ton of different artists, whether they're painters, writers,
I would love that.
It's a really great book, but you immediately find out that there's only two different types of artists, okay?
Oh, okay.
The type of artist that gets up with an alarm, they eat the exact same thing every day, they know exactly what they're going to do, so that by the time they get to work, all of their brain power is focused on creativity and doing exactly what needs to be done. Or there's the second type of photographer who goes to sleep at 6 a.m. and they got a bottle of vodka by their bed, and just they just thrive on chaos and not order. So on a scale from Raisin Bran to cocktails for breakfast, what kind of an artist are you?
Oh, I'm definitely a cocktail artist. I am one of those people that lives off chaos. I was just telling my husband right before I got on here, I go, I am a hot mess right now. I need to throw some shit together. I'm pretty, like I was like, should I even wear pants? Should I not wear pants? Like, I don't even know. Should I have coffee here? And he's like, do you want me to put some, he's like, rum in there. I go, I'm pregnant. I can't have rum. Like, it's just like a hot mess over here. I mean, in my bedroom, it's just like a hot mess. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I have a deadline for 6 things within this next month, and we're moving at the end of the month. Obviously, that's chaotic. So, and let me tell you, I had 9 months to do all this.
Yeah, and you're growing another human.
Yes,
so on top of all
I know.
Of that.
Talk about last minute. I swear to God. But yeah, I definitely thrive off just messiness. I'm not very scheduled. I miss scheduling all the time.
Do you think that's just the world that you live in, or does that make you a better artist?
Probably a mixture of both. I feel like, that I only take 2 sessions a month, and the reason that is because it's extremely emotional and purging at the same time to be able to take on so many different people or so many different emotions for different things. And I feel like I live in both those worlds. Like, I live in a world that's extremely, I hate to say, like, I have drama in my life all the time. It's not drama. It's just I have a lot going on, and I feel like it spills into my work, and it does make me better. And I feel like a little bit like I tell my clients that I'm a chaotic photographer because even though I know what I really want, sometimes it changes, when I get there, and I let things just kind of go with the flow. So I feel like both, I live in it, but I also produce from it. So
I think this is really neat because we're hearing a very much, you live in a not chaotic state, but you do thrive off chaos. Okay, we'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Pants, no pants, vodka, no vodka. But and you said that you take on so few sessions, and so it really sounds like you are so deeply invested in each session, each couple that you're working with. How are you connecting so deeply with your couples, or what are you doing to connect so deeply?
Gosh, so yeah, each of my couples is they're personal to me, and I converse with them for months. I mean, I'm booked right now till 2018. So throughout the process of talking to my clients, we chat, we become friends, and so each of them, I really, really try to make it really, really personal for myself and for them. So what I do is I read a lot of books, I listen to a lot of music, and most of my music is specifically set aside for one couple. And I let it emotionally break me down. And one of my favorite things I tell myself is, if I'm not willing to be broken and put back together for each individual couple, how am I supposed to produce something so powerful for each individual person? Right. So I really set the standard for myself each time by allowing myself to break myself down just to build myself back up. And that's the only way I can create new and more, like new vulnerability every time. So.
Wow. So, I mean, what I've just really heard is that, even though you are a business, and a lot of people will go, oh, just doing an engagement shoot today, I'm just going to a wedding, and then I got another next week, and it's just kind of like a process. You get so deeply connected that, like, this work will be like the thing you're judged on for the rest of your life.
Every single session to me is my it session, and it will be the session that makes or breaks me.
I think that's so powerful.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what, like, because I do love off that chaos, it's always like a good pressure for myself. It's this session needs to be one of your best. So because of that, each of my sessions are super, meaningful to me. Each of them to me, like, I don't think there's been a session in a long time that I have done that I haven't loved. And that's a standard for myself that I keep. I have to love each individual session, and if I can't take the time to make sure everything about it is the way I want it, then it's not worth it to me. That's, like I said, why I only take 2 a month.
Okay. So
that's great.
Talk to me about, because this is, I want to go deeper into this. This sounds
yeah.
So, I mean, talk to me about, whether you look at other artists' work, and I guess, how you replenish or, fulfill or bottle up all that inspiration and creativity. Like, what do you do to really, like, create meccas every time you go out and shoot?
Okay, so just as much as I am super focused and solely, on one session that's coming up, the moment I'm done, I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
What does that mean?
I mean, like, I don't think about it anymore. I don't, like, I'll finish their session. I won't go back. I'm done. So, because then I have another one coming up. So I have to solely focus on that session. So I pretty much purge it once I'm done, those emotions, whether they're good or bad. I've had people come to me who are getting divorced, or where a husband's cheated on his wife and they're trying to reconnect. And I try really hard to find ways to add things into their sessions. So if I took on so many different emotions like that, it'd be detrimental to my health and to my creative process. So I pretty much take and then I leave. And then, wait, I forget the rest of the party that you were talking about. Sorry. That was just like, there's 3 parts that I wanted to talk about, and that was one of them. Like, I forget it after I'm done. But then you said something else, I forgot.
Yeah, I was just asking, like, where you really draw most of your inspiration from personally.
Okay, inspiration. Books, pretty much books, or traveling. Like last night, it was really funny. My kids are really inspirational to me. My daughter, it was super windy out here last night, and my daughter was handing me a shell that she had found. And as she was handing it to me, she, like, grabbed my hand, and she looked away, and her hair was blowing like that. And I was like, holy moly, I just got a whole basis for a session off just that whole thing. So I'm always, like, really looking for little things that just are moving me, and those are really huge things. Music's really big for me. I'm really into just mellow stuff. Trying to think of who one of my favorites right now is it's called Salvation. I forget the name of it.
I can really tell that by looking at your work, you love, several things. One of them, of course, is just like this raw connection. But number 2 is definitely wind. You love yourself some good wind, and I think that it really adds an interesting dimension into your photos. I think it's something that a lot of people don't think about, or they try to avoid it because, at least with women, you think that the hair is going everywhere and it gets all crazy.
I love crazy hair. I'm like, I always tell my clients, don't go get your hair done. It's stupid. Like, whether you get it done or not, we're gonna have it messy. So
we're gonna find some wind, and it's
Well, I actually have an assistant.
Oh, really? With a wind machine?
Well, I have. I just go to the Target, and they have those cheap, boards that you buy for like science projects.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he creates wind for me, and that's why I said, like, down to a T, I have my assistant either blow the wind any way I need it to be blown.
Oh, man.
And she's everywhere with me. I have behind the scenes of her. She'll be like pissed off that I showed him, but I'm like,
that's funny.
Blowing right here. But yeah, so I do most of the time have assistants. I have ways of, if I don't have an assistant, how to make wind look like it's there rather it not being there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's always in there somehow. Movement is huge. Movement is, people try to explain why movement is so beautiful and so inspiring. Sometimes things just can't be explained. They're just felt, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's how I want my work to be. I don't necessarily want you to explain why it's so beautiful. It just is.
It just is.
It just is beautiful. And it's as simple as that, and I live by that.
Okay. So I guess one thing is that it really sounds like you have a lot figured out. You've definitely got a style, and you've got a very, sustainable business in place. Yeah. Can you kind of guide us through what it was like starting off? You said earlier that your husband, obviously didn't understand the whole free shoots, which is completely understandable by any spouse.
No, yeah, he just did not get it. Well, okay, so how it started is me and my husband are very competitive.
This is going to be good.
He's competitive in his business, and I'm competitive in mine. He just bought me this camera just on a whim, and I said, first of all, you're not going to buy me this camera, and I'm not going to know how to use it. Like, you just started, like, a war here, like, I can't have this camera and not, know all the ins and outs. So I threw myself into it. My daughter was just born, and I probably missed half, a full year of her life because I was I lost a lot of friends. I never did anything every single day that wasn't photography related for the first year. And my husband was just like, you're never going to make this into something. Like, no one makes money off photography. And I'm like, well, watch me,
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, I'm very stubborn, so I'm like, if you tell me I can't do something, I'm definitely going to go and do it. And I'm going to do it way better than you expected that I'd do it. So what I did is I threw myself into a forum called Click a Moms. Opportunities at Click a Moms were huge. So what I did was, it was my first 6 months. I focused solely on creating good art, and then in 9 months I applied for their pro status, and I made it. Awesome. From that moment on, once you're a pro with Click Moms, you have amazing opportunities to be on their blog, their magazine, which I just actually had a 7-page spread with Click Magazine.
Wow! Congratulations!
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's in Barnes & Noble. So it's super stoked. I'm super stoked about it. I also made goals for myself. So one of the goals was having the cover of Click Magazine, which I did almost 2 years ago now.
Jeez.
Yeah, and I just set those goals. And the thing was really funny because everybody was like, how'd you get the cover? And I said, I emailed her and I said, I will do whatever you want me to do. Like, I will sell my soul. Give me this cover. And she said, do you have any ideas? I said, do you have any ideas? Because if you have any ideas, I'll create it. At that time, I wasn't like super sure about my style, but I was super sure that I was going to have one. I just wasn't quite sure what it was at the time. So I felt like that was a huge stepping stone for me if I could get the cover.
Yeah.
So, and I was already pretty sure with my shooting, but yeah, I pretty much put my son through hell for that one because he's the cover of the magazine. So
jeez, he had to be in front of that camera for quite a while.
Poor guy. Yeah, I was like mean mom for like 3 weeks. Yeah, it took me about maybe 700 frames to nail the one shot that they wanted at the time.
Wow. Okay, so I guess going back just a little before, when it comes to when you were first starting off, obviously, like you said, you were giving away a few free shoots and everything. Was there ever a time where maybe you had a session and you were already starting to kind of develop your style? Like, you knew where it was going, but maybe starting out you didn't manage expectations correctly and they were just confused? Or I guess really what I'm trying to get at is, have you ever had a bad client experience?
One time.
Okay, what did you do?
I had another one. So this one time, and after that I learned my lesson. Never happened again. I took on a family, which I knew at the time I didn't want to do families.
Right.
And I let them talk me into doing it on a very high sun day in SoCal, which is crazy bad. And it ended up being 12 people and some dogs.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
A bit overwhelming.
Yes, I was a little bit, I let them push me over, and I did it, like, I have no problem shooting in high sun now. But at the time, I wasn't well equipped with the knowledge at the time. So, yeah, that was the only session, and it was terrible. I cried, lost friends. It was just a hot mess, but...
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Coffee went down the wrong throat right there as I was about to. Okay.
You need some water? I'm just kidding.
A little more coffee.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. Yeah, that really sounds like a horrible situation. How would you have
I'm just
gone...
laughing at Raymond.
I'm pretty dumb sometimes. So. I mean, honestly, that sounds like a really, really like tough situation to be in, because obviously you have something that a client is expecting to get from you, and if you're not having a good time shooting it, it's going to be hard to capture what it is that they want while including yourself in the photos. So
it was actually that session that I realized one thing about myself, that even though I was supposed to do what they wanted me to do, I didn't do what they wanted me to do, and that's how I knew for sure that I couldn't let anybody tell me what to do anymore, because whether they wanted it that way or not, I wasn't going to do it.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so if you had to go back in time to right before that session, and you could tell that Candice, a younger Candice,
yes,
hey, here's one piece of advice, what would that be?
That would be to do not second guess yourself. I knew going in what I needed to do and how I should do it, and I didn't listen to myself because that $250 looked so good, at the time. And because I wanted to show my husband at the time that I was going to make some type of money. And I feel like to this day I wish I didn't do that, because it's oh so sweet when I come home and I've made just as much money as him, and it's like, I didn't need that $250 to set the stone in where I was heading, if that makes sense. So I would tell myself to just trust my instincts.
Trust your instincts.
Cool. I love that.
Yeah.
I
mean, we all have instincts that tell us one way or another to do something, and we sometimes just let it go and just no, I can do it. And then I definitely don't let that happen anymore. I trust myself. If I'm overwhelmed, or if I know I can't do it, or if it's out of my realm of what I want to do, specifically what I want to do. If I don't want to do it, I don't do it at all, ever.
And that's great, because obviously, like you said earlier, now you have people who are just like, whatever you say, Candice, we will follow you through, whatever you want to do.
You know what? I have such a loyal following. They've all been following me for so long, and they're all so sweet and supportive. I wish there was some way, and I could give back to each of the individuals in there. Everybody's so sweet and just 100% there for me. And
I think that's great. I mean, you just today or yesterday completed a gigantic milestone of having, obviously 16,000 followers on Facebook. And as a photographer, that many, is almost unheard of, unless you're some sort of international traveler who goes to Iceland or Japan, and here you are, you're like, I'm not going to travel if you...
Well, what's funny is I thought I had to be that international. I just marketed myself to be an international traveler, and when I started traveling internationally, I was like, hell no. I was like, I don't like to travel, so why am I trying to be somebody I'm not?
Right.
And, first of all, you do see my work and you don't see, hey, she was in Italy, or hey, she was in Iceland. You don't see that. Like, I can create that with the mountains over here, freaking California is amazing.
Very much
my backyard. So I'm really huge on just making sure that I just stay true to myself.
I think that's really interesting that, you're right about that, is that when you look at your photos, they're so close, and they do make you feel like so intimate that you're right there, and that nothing else matters. It's like, yeah, we're in Paris, but like we don't care about the Eiffel Tower right now. We're focused on this connection of what is bringing us together.
I mean, I was with my husband, because we were just talking about that, and I have an opportunity to be teaching at a couple places in Europe next year, which is Germany and France and all there, and teaching's different, but shooting, I told my husband I wouldn't go for unless they come to me, because not only do I charge them double, but I mean they'll get what they get if they came here, and then they get a vacation out of it.
Yeah, wow, that's a really cool perspective. I like that.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
they lose money by me coming to them as opposed to them coming to me. So, I mean, as much as I love to do all that stuff, like being a mom and is more important to me, I love being with my kids, and I don't like taking my kids in the plane.
okay, well,
So, yeah.
this opens up a whole new kind of side, I guess, of this podcast, which is that, like, obviously, that's definitely a business decision that you've had to make that is more focused on your family as opposed to... I think that it's interesting that you've made that decision based on your photography style, and that you've realized that I don't need to go to locations to get the same photos that I can get right here, whereas most people feel like they have to travel to be able to get amazing
What happens
photos.
is your family suffer, and I don't give a shit what anybody tells me. My family comes first.
Right, okay.
And like I can do this without getting paid and love it just as much. So for me, it's my kids, my husband, the stability of my home is what makes me good. It makes me better, you know, and I can't lose that strength, you know, just because I make better money. You know, I don't think so. I mean, I make great money being home, you know, like I don't need to do that. They're the ones that keep me going, and they're the ones that inspire me. So if I lose that, then I lose everything.
I think that that's a very what is it? Type B approach, creative? Is that right? Type B? I think that's a very type B approach, and you know, it fits your life, and that's a very good way about going about your business. But it's still a business, which is very much type A. And obviously, you've done very well in both of these fields. So how do you manage?
Yeah, how are you dealing with that?
Both?
Well, I usually tell my students, because that comes up a lot, I tell my students that I don't treat it like it's a business. I treat it like it's a hobby. So because I'm not so invested in treating it like a business, that it doesn't feel like a business to me. So my husband thinks it's funny, because he's like, I don't know how the hell you marketed yourself to do what you're doing, how you did that stuff. I don't really know, because I never finished high school, so I don't really know. Sometimes I just scratch my head, and I'm just like, you know, the two things that I did in the very beginning, and I still do today, and I do it every day, and I focus on it every day, is I better my photography, I shoot every day, and I share. I share my work everywhere to the point where it probably makes people want to vomit.
No. I don't think that any of your followers...
I share it so much. It probably gets irritating with some... Well, it used to get really irritating for sure, especially when I first started. But, like, I put it everywhere. I shared in contests. I shared on different pages. I shared in little groups. And then I'm also really big on people not giving me critique. I don't let people critique me ever. And the only other person's opinion that I take is my husband's, because I trust him solely. I don't like the negativity, and I don't need to hear it. So,
that's really interesting from somebody who wants to share so much that it's like you don't care
I'm actually what they call a share and ditcher.
Share a ditcher.
So I share my stuff, and then I never go back, because I don't really like people's comments on my work. Don't motivate me to be better. They don't.
So what is it about the sharing that gets you so excited?
It gets my work out there. It spreads my work everywhere, and it shares. People share it. People I don't even know share it, and they're just like, oh, you know. And and I post on Pinterest all the time. I post on my website all the time. I share it. You know, it's like anytime I can talk about it, that's what I do. Those are the two things that I did, I think, that marketed myself pretty well. And anytime I have like an opportunity with Clicking Moms, I take it. Blogging for the day, Instagram takeovers. I'm always posting on my Instagram, hashtagging the hell out of it too.
Of course.
Crazy.
I mean, it looks like you have a lot figured out in the form of business, in the form of having such a huge following, in the forms of, you know, your photography style, which I think that alone is the goal for most photographers, is having those three things, which you have already attained. So when it comes to Candice, what is the next step?
Gosh, you know, I was telling my husband that the other day. I talked to him so much, so you're probably like, oh, you talk to him like all the time. But
oh, you talk to your husband? That's so weird.
I know,
That's
it's so
weird.
weird.
Who does
We
that?
talk about all these things that you're bringing up, so I think it's so funny. But we were just talking about that. He's like, "What is your next goals?" And June 27th is my very first 4-week online workshop called The Wild Heart with Clickin' Moms. Sign-ups actually start this week, so.
Ooh, that's exciting.
I know there's only 30 full participation seats, but there's an unlimited amount of seats for silent seats, which means you get all the material, you just don't get my feedback. Which I'm like a silent seater. Like I don't like full participation because I almost take the teacher's advice, and then whatever I didn't like about it, I just throw it out the window.
So what's the point?
So I'm all selling to everybody else. It's way cheaper. But no, I really actually work better that way. But yeah, so only 30 full participation seats. But the class is really amazing. The first week's about just putting all of it together and how to create little elements on what creates emotion. Second week is about how to feel as opposed to just seeing, and finding perfect locations. And then third week is, like I told you earlier, about individual art pieces and how to create powerful imagery. And then the fourth week is about editing and how to set yourself alone and how to be a good editor.
Man, it really goes into just about everything there,
That's
doesn't it?
quite
Gosh, it really does. Actually, we start filming next week, so I'm pretty nerve-wracked about filming.
Okay, so hold up real quick. You're starting this new venture. You're about to be due, and you're just doing it all at once in a whole new moving all together at the same time.
Yeah, moving too. I know, it's crazy.
Oh,
yeah, actually, and sessions. I do sessions too still in between all this stuff. I'm actually going to be working with Milk and Honey as well, which is another online retreat. So I'll also be doing filming. I'm going to have a GoPro stuck to my head.
Yeah.
And I'm going to film GoPro style. So that's for a huge opportunity that's going to be coming out. The Milky Way, Milk and Honey. Yeah, they're amazing. So, and I also do my own personal in-person workshops. So we have another one coming up here in August. So I'm pretty busy till September.
Yeah.
But I stop in September. I don't work from September to January, so since I have my baby in October. But yeah, I will actually still be shooting in between all that stuff. It's just personal stuff.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you have, like we just said, a ton on your plate, and I think that this new workshop and online creative is really exciting, and I think that a lot of our listeners
I really
might
hope
be
everybody
interested.
loves it. I really poured my heart and soul to it, and I know it's going to be really frustrating for people, but if it doesn't make you want to pull your hair out, it's not good enough. So yeah, this workshop's pretty rough. I feel like it's going to be kind of annoying at first. People are going to be like, why do I have to do this? But it's the details, the little bits,
That's very
so
true.
Hopefully it does well. So
Cool.
Awesome. Go ahead, Raymond.
I was going to ask where can, if any of our listeners are really interested in learning about the workshop, where can they find any more information?
They can find it. It's going to be on my website soon this week. It's also going to be on my Facebook. It'll be at clickinmoms.com, or they have it's called Click and Co University now, or Click Photo University. I think they just changed the name, but it's under clickinmoms.com. Yeah, so it'll be in all my little avenues. It'll be all over my Instagram. You won't be able to miss it. If you follow me, you won't be able to miss it. So.
Awesome. So besides those, tell us where those social media channels are for you. Where can our listeners go and start following? So
I post pretty much everywhere, every day. I post on my Facebook. You can find me at The Blissful Maven on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram and The Blissful Maven on Instagram. My website is theblissfulmaven.com. Those are pretty much the avenues that I keep it to. So those are, where you can find me. I also post on Ello, but I only post there every 2 months. So.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie. I have
know what that
no
is.
idea what that is.
Oh! You know what? People do not know what Ello is, but I wish it was the new Facebook, because the quality of images there, and I can show my nudes there, is awesome. So I have so much nudes, but I can't show them on Facebook because I swear I'm on strike 30, and if I do one more, they're gonna kick me off for good. So.
Is it just another social? Is it like
it
a
is,
video
but it's
type
really.
thing?
chill. You know, like no one's really like hovering over your images. There's no feed. It's just images. It's like almost an online gallery.
Interesting.
A feed gallery. Like you just post your photos, and if people want to go to your name, all they see is just your images, as opposed to words and just jabber, you know?
Words and jabber.
It's like
elo.com. I like it. Yeah, and if people are like totally into seeing my nudes, not mine, well, maybe some of mine, but you know, like some of like my other work, it's on there. Yeah, like I'm not doing self-portraits at the moment, but yeah, they're all on there. So I hope everybody goes and checks out Elo.
That's really cool. I know I'm gonna check it out after this.
Yeah, I know all my friends are like, "Am I naked on there?" I'm like, "You're totally naked on there, man."
We are going to have links for all of this, FYI, to the listeners, so that they can just link and not have to be furiously writing everything down like I am.
If anybody has any issues or anybody needs help or anybody has questions about the podcast, I'm always online, and I'm so happy to answer anybody's questions or anything more that people wanted to know. Like, totally down.
That's good, because we had no clue what Elo is, so we need you.
Yeah, you know, I'm totally able to link you guys, you know, or anything else anybody wants to know we weren't able to ask. I'm always available. So.
Awesome.
Well, Candice, we really want to be mindful of your time because you're impossibly busy. And actually, how you found the time to speak to us, you know, peasants today.
I'm so glad I got
idea.
to. I really love doing stuff like this, but finding like little time, like I totally wanted to do it yesterday. My father-in-law dropped in. My father-in-law is so sweet. He flew up from SoCal just to see my son's baseball game. So I was like, I really had to like take time for that.
Oh, of course.
So I know, but I'm so glad I got to do this. I really am.
Well, good. Thank you so much. Again,
thank you for having me.
We really appreciate you having you. We
So
appreciate having you on here, and we really look forward to seeing everything new in the future. And like I said, we're going to link to everything in the show notes. If anybody wants to find anything out about you or get in contact with you, that's going to be where they're going to be able to find it.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to seeing that course pop up.
I know. I'm so excited. Yeah. I'll probably like throw a couple things out there today because I know that signups start this week, so which is really important because signups fill up pretty quickly. So
I might get one of those silent seats, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like silent seats are like awesome, you know. So, but I mean,
do your thing.
Each seat's great. I mean, I honestly am like, if you're a silent participation seat and you're not like getting my feedback, you can message me on the side, and I'm more than happy to help you. So I'm not like, no, you didn't pay, man. You know, you're sorry. You know, like I don't do this for money. I do this because I enjoy doing it. So you just message me, and I'll help you out. So
awesome, Candice. Thank you again so much. I'm sure our listeners have loved this podcast. I'm sure they've learned tons. I've learned tons.
Yay!
Raymond might have learned a thing. He's only got 3 brain cells. I'm just kidding.
It's okay, Raymond.
I see where this is going. I'll just go ahead and leave right now.
Oh, my kids just walked in, so
well, Candice, again, we really want to be mindful of your time, so we will let you go. But again, thank you so much for everything.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your guys' time. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too.
We just spent, wow. So 40. How did we even? I just feel like everything I knew about photography just changed.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. I think after talking with Candice, you really change your outlook on a lot of things, from her trying to minimize the amount of clients that she takes so that she can maximize the amount of connection that she can have with those couples, to really pull you in, is for one, working, and for two, it's definitely something that I haven't heard a lot of other photographers do, but I think that it really points out that in the game of photography, you can niche out exactly what you want to do, and if you market yourself correctly, which she has, and even though she's admitted that she has no idea how she has, you can be very successful, and successful in the terms of happy. I mean, I think that what Candice has done has obviously been very lucrative for her. She enjoys what it is that she does most, though, where she has said several times that family comes first and that everything else comes second, and that includes business and money. She treats her business like a hobby, and I think that that's what keeps it fun for her, and that is what, in her eyes, makes her successful, and I think that that's really cool.
I don't even know where I want to highlight that I felt was like the takeaway for me. I guess if there was one point that I really want to highlight, if you're for some reason skipping right to the end and haven't heard the interview yet.
Was it that she said that she has cocktails for breakfast?
No, but it's not a bad idea. It's not the worst thing in the world. But I
think it's a pretty great thing.
It's not a bad idea. I really think that, what I've learned, I guess, conclusively, that she talks about her own work, but then also just tells me that I need to focus on is really going after the things I deeply, deeply want and not feeling bad about it, not feeling not feeling, I have to apologize or apologetic. I really need to go, this is what I want and who I want and when I want it and why I want it, and go, that's who I'm going to focus on, and not go, here I am, and I'll take a whole bunch of different things. I think I really need to sit down and niche it out and be happier with it.
Yeah, no, it's true. She really opened up my eyes, I think, in a way that had nothing to do with photography, but just pure passion, I guess.
Yeah, and part of her whole thing was really about, making your work, reflect who you are intimately and personally, and making it work for you. She said the biggest thing, number one for her, is her family, and everything has to make sure that she can be around them because they're her inspiration, her lifeline, her happiness. And everything she does makes it so that she can be with them. And I think that's, we can get lost in the world of any, entrepreneur, or even just someone who's passionate about something. You can get lost trying to chase something that sounds like it's a dream, but it's not really your dream.
Yeah, that's true. That's true with anything, like you said, any sort of entrepreneur. That's exactly what you can do. So, Candice, if you're listening to this, man, seriously, hats off to you. Everything that you have shared with us is really important. It's really special. And again, I have no idea how you found any time to take out of your impossibly busy schedule to speak with us. So once again, thank you very much. Until next week, if you want to find out anything that Candice had talked about, you know where to find it. Callum, why don't you tell them?
Oh, beginnerphotographypodcast.com. Go to the episode. We will have all the links to her website, her new workshop coming up, her social media pages. We're going to have links to anything she dropped during the interview. And we're going to, especially Ello, we just learned what that is. You can find us at Beginner Photography Podcast, as you know, on Facebook by typing in the Beginner Photography Podcast. Find us on iTunes. If you like our podcast, please leave us a review on iTunes. It's how people can organically find us. The reviews, if you leave an honest review, will help us help find people organically so they can listen and hopefully evolve their photography skills.
And you know what? We're going to go out on a limb here and do this, is that if you go ahead and leave us a review on iTunes, we really want honest reviews, whether it's good or it's bad. We don't care. We want to know what it is that you like about the podcast and what you don't like about the podcast. So you know what we're going to do, Callum?
What?
If you leave us a review, we will go ahead and link. We're going to give you a huge shout out. We're going to say thank you so much for leaving a review, and we're going to link to your website in the show notes of whatever episode is next. And that is really going to help you out with your SEO for your website if you're trying to build up any sort of business and try to get discovered as a photographer. Could you imagine how cool it would be to be mentioned in the same podcast as a world famous photographer like the Blissful Maven? You'd be like instantly famous. It's pretty exciting.
If I leave a review, can I get a shout out?
I'm going to give you a shout out anyway, but cool. Yeah, why not?
Awesome.
So guys, if you do that, we would really appreciate it. It really is the only way that we can make this better for you and provide you with more information. So until next week, I'm Raymond.
I'm Cal.
Keep shooting.